All right, everyone. I got up today and, I was halfway through my first cup of coffee when I found out that Sargon of Akkad had been kicked off of Patreon. And I heard a rumor he was also kicked off PayPal same day, and there's nothing coordinated about that. Not 100% sure that's true. And then James Allsup has also been kicked off Patreon. Milo was kicked off yesterday after just one day. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm scratching my head trying to think of what would possibly justify kicking Sargon, of all people, off of Patreon. How could he be construed as an extremist or a criminal to get him kicked off? Yeah, I got nothing. See, the thing is, when we were sold Silicon Valley censorship, well, I didn't buy it, but, the normies did. What were we told about who specifically was going to be the target? In the wake of things like Charlottesville and the Europa United stuff over in, or whatever it was called with the boat over there with the Lauren Southern. Remember when Lauren Southern got deplatformed? She was like the first to get kicked off Patreon. Jack himself came out, because she had a large audience and a lot of people were upset, he came out and said, look, the only reason she was banned was for manifest observable behavior, MOB, which is very, very funny as an acronym. Manifest observable behavior is what Patreon alluded to with regards to this. They said, look, it was a physical, tangible event. We've got literally footage of her firing a flare-off over this other ship. That's why she's banned. We don't care about her political views. We don't care about, what YouTube videos she makes. She's not calling for violence or anything. She was in a physical situation in which harm imminently could have occurred, and so we don't want money to be raised on our platform and given to her, because then it looks like we are funding potentially, a murder or something. So it's manifest observable behavior. When has Sargon fired a flare at someone? And by the way, I disagreed with Lauren Southern getting kicked off because I correctly predicted that it would morph from that to other things. It wouldn't be just manifest observable behavior. What mob has been involved with Sargon other than the Outrage mob that probably mass raided and complained to Patreon about his views, feels about one thing or the other? And by the way, to all the other content creators, you better fucking get a clue and start speaking out about this sort of shit more. Because if Sargon is now considered extreme or fringe, sorry, but that puts 99% of all political commentary on YouTube outside of the acceptable realm of Patreon's TOS. And right now, there's not really a Patreon alternative. Yeah, you can take Bitcoin. Yeah, you can take PayPal tips, although they've been involved with the same deplatforming. Again, rumor has it that he's been kicked off there too. Again, I'm not sure where people are getting that info. If you have it, you can give it to me, or if maybe he can weigh in on it. By the way, Sargon keeps trying to get me to get a Discord. And I'm like, I don't know how to use Discord, dude. It's never going to actually happen. I'm old school. Yes, I unironically prefer Skype, even in its new morphed form. Microshaft took over and ruined it, basically, but it's still kind of functional. There are other alternatives. There's that one program, I can't remember the name of it, that the BitChute show with Goodman has used several times, which seems good. I don't really have a clue how to operate it. I can remember like Tiny Chat days and shit like that. But here's the thing. If Sargon of Akkad is extreme, most of us would be outside of Patreon's TOS. Now, this could have been a mistake. It could have been outrage. It could get reversed or something. Because I'm sitting there and I'm trying to think to myself, what has he physically, tangibly done or said that could possibly be considered imminently harmful or criminal in nature? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He goes out of his way to say, well, I'm like the alt-centrist, and chuckles about philosophers and shit. Half of his content now is him gaming, playing like Ark Survival and stuff. Is it that he hit too many woolly mammoths? PETA complained? They were upset. He killed a dinosaur. Oh my god, it's a terrible day. No, I oppose this. I strongly urge them to reconsider. It's like, they just got done banning BitChute, and I haven't gotten an update on it. I'm going to assume that their account is still down and that the decision was, no, basically, fuck you. This keeps happening, and it's like there are still people who believe that this is not coordinated, that it's just these companies, in a vacuum, they decide to piss off large numbers of people. That's never the way that things operate. Always think of the money, and not just think. They kick Sargon off. He's making about $10K a month. It's a nice chunk of change. Patreon's getting a cut of that. When they ban him from the platform, it's not just that they're banning Sargon, it's that they're alienating literally tens of thousands of people who support and donate to his work directly, and over 1 million other people that are at least more passively part of his audience. They damage their brand. A brand is worth its weight in gold, and then some. They are damaging their brand with enormous proportions of the entire creator community by doing this when they deplatform. Therefore, you've got to think to yourself, what impetus is involved with regards to them making that decision? It's because they look, like any rational actor, they look at risk and reward. The risk of alienating hundreds of thousands of people that are on their platform is obviously weighed against the risk of something else, and the risk of that other thing is greater if they don't kick the person off. Now ask yourself, what could that possibly be? Threats against their advertisers. Threats against the legislative threats. It comes from government groups. I guarantee you that there are government figures that are partially responsible. It comes from them and the outrage mobs that are controlled by the legacy media and by the political fringe. The true fringe is not the people that are being deplatformed. The true fringe are the people who are willing to send off a dozen fucking emails in a day for $5 an hour in a office somewhere. Those are the ideological fringe individuals. They're your Starbucks Marxists who say, oh, Bernie Sanders too far right for me, and then they slap on their Che Guevara t-shirt, they go and they play around on their Crapple products. There's your outrage mob. Yes, the manifest observable behavior mob. The only mob involved here is probably a bunch of far-left individuals mass flagging him, ultimately, complaining to Patreon. Unfortunately, the creator community has not yet amalgamated enough to form a coherent defense against this. If Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, who is basically #1 fucking classical liberal online, can be considered an extremist or hateful or have breached some other part of their terms of service, or maybe they just don't like the dude. Hey, sorry, fucking Tim Pool. Sorry, Computing Forever. Sorry, Paul Joseph Watson. Sorry, Matt and Blood. Sorry, everybody. Fucking sorry, a bunch of liberals, too. You think that this is going to be limited? No. I'll tell you what the long-term goal of some groups involved is. And I've already spoken of this. People swear up and down it's not true. I guarantee that it is. What they're hoping to do is to get the right wing to hang itself by making the following argument. Hey, we don't care if you've deplatformed Fringe or whatever, just make sure you aim it at the left too. And so they'll start kicking off more independent commentary. Who's responsible for this? Who is holding money over the head of these platforms? Who do you think it is? What's the only group that has enough power to do that? It's the mass media and all of their political partners. The establishment, in the most literal sense. We've gone through this before. The establishment right now is looking around at the world, and they're looking at the rise of actual leftism, which, by the way, they do not like. The corporate core that's responsible for this, unlike the outrage mob they've managed to generate, is not far left. They're a bunch of neoliberal corporate crooks. They're just globalistic crooks. They're people with billions of dollars and shit. They don't want to be communists. They don't want to have to toe the party line. They want to do whatever they want, but they don't want independent competitors to come along. They've formed a situation in which they have gone after primarily the right wing. But it's just a ruse, because they're hoping that eventually the right will call for censorship. They'll actually be aboard with the whole plan, as long as it's also aimed at the left wing. And then once they crush those fringes, so-called, which now apparently doesn't even involve individuals that are truly fringe at all and haven't done anything wrong or unconscionable or illegal, anything that could cause harm. Yes, I'm sure Sargon goes around with a Klan hood all the fucking time in private, dude. They've gone from that. They will slowly grind their way in towards the middle, normalize censorship, and lay waste to all independent commentary. They don't want an alt media, because it's out competing the legacy media. They don't want alternative politics, left, right, center. No. They don't give a fuck what the alternative politics are, but they don't want it to take hold, because they're comfy. They're comfy and corrupt and extremely rich and very powerful. And that's what we're fighting, and yet we've got a creator community. People still fight one another. Yes, I don't care, Mal knew, I think, didn't he sell a bunch of Bitcoin? He's probably got $1 million. He's considered impoverished next to the people that are generating these outrage mobs. And the outrage mobs, by the way, they're being fed by people who, they don't even have skin in the game. They don't even realize what they're doing. They think that they're fighting for good. And that's why the creator community needs to get off their high horse and say, well, these horrible, horrible individuals. No, it's an outrage mob. It's been generated by the corrupt. These people are simply ignorant of what they're being used as, which is pawns. They're being used as pawns by a bunch of billionaires. They think they're fighting for like a liberal, more left-wing future against the fascists or whatever. No, you're not. You're not fighting against fascism. You actually think Sargon's a fascist? I have some bad news for you. You don't know anything. You don't know shit from Shinola. And as far as Patreon goes, look, you are a fundraising platform. You are not endorsing someone's message by platforming them. You're not a publisher. You're not making... Patreon doesn't make content. It provides a platform for people in many cases who are treated like pariahs by other fundraising abilities. Google says, no, you're not allowed to take ads. You can't have, super chats. We're going to give it to some random charity because someone said the wrong word, which also doesn't make any sense. And Allsup gets banned. Again, I'm going to assume that there is more of a reason for that, but I oppose that too. Milo shouldn't be banned. Yeah, all these people, by the way, they should make their argument to Patreon. They should do it publicly. Don't just do it in private behind closed doors. No, make sure every other creator knows too. This is a coordinated assault upon free speech. Not the First Amendment. I'm talking free speech as a philosophy. It's a coordinated assault on content creation. It's a coordinated assault on the free market. The free market extends beyond just commerce. It extends to ideas. Ideas generate money too. They generate technology. Ideas are wonderful. It's how everything develops. It's under assault right now. And it's not just, oh, my far left is doing this. Hey, yeah, a lot of it is far left outrage mobs. Who created them? Who created the situation in which they reasonably would construe Sargon, of all people, as a fascist? It's because they were lied to by some defamatory hit pieces from a bunch of billion-dollar fucking corporations. You're to stop treating symptomatically and look at the actual underlying disease. The underlying disease is a bunch of authoritarian billionaires, not a bunch of liberal, hipster kids with trust funds. Yeah, that's bad enough, but, what's causing them to be outraged? They weren't that mad 3 years ago. They were not. What whipped them into a frenzy? I wonder. Was it just them in a vacuum choosing to be a bunch of authoritarian pawns? No, of course not. So you got to get hip to the propaganda if you want to fight it. You can't fight if you don't know what you're fighting. It's hard to win a battle if you don't know who your enemy is. That's about all. Peace out.